Every decision has a price. But what if that price is your whole old life? What if the closest person you trusted turned out to be a stranger? Sometimes, to find the truth, you need to unravel hundreds of small details, ignore the silence, and make a choice that will change everything forever. House that has become a stranger. Kirill returned to the apartment closer to 10. The trip took longer than planned. Heavy rain, traffic jam on the overpass. The car-sharing driver kept glancing in the mirror, as if he was afraid that the client was about to start a conversation. Cyril did not speak. He was silent, staring out the window. The key in the lock turned with a dull click. It's unusual. He entered silently, as always. He took off his coat and put his briefcase against the wall. The scent of a new freshener wafted in the hallway. Something coniferous, intrusive. This has never happened before. Have you arrived? Marina's voice came from the kitchen, completely colorless, as if she felt neither surprise, joy, nor annoyance. Just a statement. Yes, it was a difficult journey. His voice was steady, without reproach or annoyance. She came out, wiping her palms on a towel. Slender, hair pulled back, lips without makeup. Homely, but overly collected. Carol looked at her the same way he looked at strangers at the airport, trying to guess who they were and why they had arrived. Heat up dinner? What is it? She asked. No need. I had a snack on the way. He lied to test her reaction. Well, how did it go? There was something like curiosity in her tone now, not concern, but rather formal politeness. As always, meetings, documents. I'm tired. He looked at her. She couldn't stand the look and looked away. I see. Well, tell the kids that you've come. And she left. He stayed in the hallway, slowly untying his shoelaces. I noticed that the shoe rack was at the wrong angle. A small thing, but he remembered that it had been positioned differently before, like the vase on the bedside table and the poster in the hallway. Footsteps sounded on the stairs. First, the light dosha, then the heavy, measured step-on. Children. Kirill straightened up and put on his usual mask. Dad. Dasha jumped out first, hugged him for a second, and jumped back. Hello, Bunny. He gently ran his hand through her hair. Are you staying long? Stepan asked from the stairs, without going down to the end. I hope so. Kirill looked at his santate in the hallway, slowly untying his shoelaces. I noticed that the shoe rack was at the wrong angle. A small thing. But he remembered that it had been positioned differently before, like the vase on the bedside table and the poster in they. Footsteps sounded on the stairs. First, the light dasha and the heavy, measured step-on. Children. Kirill straightened up and put on his usual mask. Dad. Dasha jumped out first, hugged him for a second, and jumped back. Hello, Bunny. He gently ran his hand through her hair. Are you staying long? Stepan asked from the stairs, without going down to the end. I hope so. Kirill looked at his son. His gaze was direct, adult, as if he was waiting for something or knew something. Later, when they went to bed, he walked around the house, carefully, not in a hurry. This is done by those who have returned not to their native hearth, but to the scenery of their former life. The kitchen was clean, sterile. The sink is empty, the dishes are on the shelves. There was not a speck of dust on the table, not a trace of dinner. There were containers of neatly arranged food in the refrigerator. The lids were of the same type. There were no markings. In their bedroom, the bed was made up like in a hotel. The pillows were flat, and the blanket was perfectly spread out. Kirill took off his jacket and went into the dressing room. There was a new bundle of ties on the mezzanine. He didn't order them. To the right was a small travel bag that he hadn't seen before. A box of new men's cologne was sliding out of the bottom drawer. He took the bottle and inhaled the fragrance. Not his, completely different. He returned to the bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, and listened. The house was quiet, unnaturally quiet. Marina didn't come in to say goodnight, didn't ask if everything was okay. It used to be a ritual. He lay down on the bed. The secret schedule. At 3 o'clock in the morning, he got up without turning on the lights, went into the kitchen, poured a glass of water. The diary was left open on the table. He glanced at it briefly. Record: Tuesday is Pilates class. Friday is the pool. She hasn't had Pilates or a pool on her schedule for the last 6 months. He knew it, so it was either a lie or a code. He returned to the bedroom and sat in an armchair by the window, looking out into the courtyard. There was darkness behind the high fence, but he knew that sooner or later something would show up, either a light in someone else's window, or footsteps, or a rustle. At dawn, Marina came in, as if the clock hadn't been there, and said, "I started the dishwasher. If things are in the backpack, put them in the basket." He nodded, not looking, not asking, just watching. She didn't turn around, walked away like a stranger who lives next door, without explaining, without making excuses, without fear, or too confident to be afraid. Children's voices were heard. Dasha was laughing loudly, deliberately, loudly, as if on cue. Stepan's voice was quieter, but insistent. Carol listened. They were arguing about which movie to watch on the streaming service. A strange choice of theme for a Saturday morning. He lay with his eyes closed. It's a habit from the days when you had to make a decision before you got up. Now, just to realize how much reality has changed. The house has become different. Marina is different. Even the children didn't behave the way they used to. He got up and went into the bathroom. His towel was gone. There was one on the hook, a woman's one. The shaving machine in the cup was someone else's, plastic. His old one with the metal handle was gone. Not a mistake, but a substitution. Kirill washed his face without touching other people's things. Marina was already setting the table in the kitchen. Everything was checked out: plates, napkins, cheesecakes. She saw him and calmly said, "Do you want an omelet?" "No, coffee. Coffee and turkey." "Yes, it's a new variety. It's here." "Who brought it?" Kirill poured himself a drink without looking at her. "One colleague. I told you so." He opened his own business. Treats everyone. He didn't answer. He was drinking. The coffee was bitter, not mild, as she promised. Either she didn't notice, or she lied. Both options were likely. Stepan came in, stopped at the door jamb, looked at his father, and sat down in silence. Dasha followed him in with a drawing in her hands. "Dad, look." She held out the paper. "It's beautiful," Kirill said. The rose was asymmetrical, with an extra petal. He thought, the superfluous is always more noticeable. Marina sat across from him, eating pancakes without looking at him. "What's on the plan today?" she asked. "Nothing. I'm home." "What do you mean?" "I mean, I'm not going anywhere. I want to spend time with the kids." "Didn't you say you were meeting again?" "Cancelled." He looked at her face. The same mask. No surprise, no annoyance, just appreciation. As if she needed to figure out what that meant. "Then I would cancel the appointment with the cosmetologist," she said a few seconds later. "No, go on. I'll stay with them myself." The children looked up. Dasha smiled. Stepan continued to eat. He knew or felt something. Carol noted to himself, "My son has been silent too often lately." After breakfast, he cleaned up the kitchen, slowly opened the trash can. There was a new package from one of the products on top. Carol froze. He remembered that there were no such things in the store at home. So it wasn't accident. Someone brought it. Question? When? He closed the lid, but didn't touch it. Not the time. Marina was looking for her keys in the hallway. The bag was open. The phone was on the floor. She was swearing softly, irritably. "Lost it?" "No, it's just—" She cut him off abruptly. "But we found them. Everything is fine." She was buttoning her raincoat when he said, "I don't need a ride. It's faster for me." He watched her put on her gloves. The skin was dark brown, soft, and thin. It wasn't her style. It was a gift. She had never worn such things. He remembered that the raincoat was also new. "Don't stay too long," he said. "Don't be late," she replied. Marina tried to smile, but the corners of her lips twitched strangely. When she left, Kirill closed the door behind her softly, without clicking, and returned. The children assembled the painting from thousands of pieces. He sat down next to her. "Mom's job, what does she do?" "What is it?" he asked without looking at her. "The design seems to be with Artyom," Dasha said. "They have an office on the outskirts," Stepan added. "No, but that's what she said on the phone." Kirill said nothing, picked up his phone, opened a browser, and entered the company name. The site had no information about employees, and the phone number was shared. There was a picture of a man. He checked the address, an industrial center with several hundred tenants. He realized that the company could be a fiction or a cover or both. He got up and went into the bedroom, opened the desk drawer. Marina's old business card holder. A few cards, none new, only 2 years old. He moved on to her laptop. Closed. Password. He didn't hack it, just noted it. There was no password before. He called Dmitry, an old acquaintance of his, who was conducting a complicated financial fraud trial for him. "Hello, Cyril. Are you on business? I need to check something." "Seriously?" "Yes. Information is privately shared by one person. Name, numbers, movements. So far, only the name and photo. The rest is later." "When is it necessary?" "The sooner the better." They exchanged contacts. Kirill sent a picture of Artyom from the website without a date, without a link. The day passed slowly. He tried to read, answered several emails, and looked after the children. Everything was in half an eye. He was waiting, not for a moment, but for a signal, something that would give him the right to act. Marina returned at 7 in the evening, was made up, smelled of the same perfume, heavy, with notes of tobacco and vanilla, neither feminine nor new. Kirill noted it. She went into the bedroom, changed her clothes, as if everything was in order. "How are the kids?" "Good. Are we going to have dinner?" "We already had dinner." She froze for a second. He was watching. There was everything in that pause: fear, irritation, an attempt to calculate what he knew. She said, "I'm going to take a shower. I'm terribly tired." He nodded, sat down in an armchair, picked up a book, read for a couple of minutes, then put it down without closing it. The pause was artificial. The house was filled with tension, like a vessel, quietly, without noise. But Kirill knew that something was starting to flow under the surface and would soon burst. Exposure. Dmitry called back at noon 4 days later. His voice was thick and short, as it always was when he found something, but it was better not to ask too much. "Kirill, the guy you sent is Artyom Semenov. He was in the news a few years ago. Private hotel, problems with documents." "What exactly?" "The story is murky. Data storage violations, unauthorized access to guest lists, rumors about booking manipulation. Everything was hushed up, but the settlement remained. He's not officially working anywhere right now, but one interesting fact has passed through the system. He has been registered in a gated community for the last 3 months. A woman often visits there. The name is not specified. I'll send you the photos." Kirill was sitting at his desk in his office. The window was closed. The curtains were drawn back. It was raining lightly outside. He listened and was no longer surprised or angry. He was collecting. A few minutes later, a message arrived. Cyril opened it. On the screen is a woman in a raincoat with a hood, but the profile is recognizable, Marina, next to Artem. They enter the entrance, not holding hands, but walking too synchronously. He put down his phone, remained in his chair, hands clasped, eyes on the floor. Everything that seemed disjointed, the smell, the perfume, the towel, the visits to the salon, the pauses in the conversation, all gathered in a straight line. He wasn't surprised, just fixed it in silence. In the evening, he returned home with groceries. Habit. It used to be a way to be helpful. Now is a reason to look around. While Marina was busy in the kitchen, he went into her room. Technically, it was a shared bedroom, but in fact, it was already hers. He wasn't looking for clues, but for a rhythm. Where she leaves her things, how she folds her clothes, how she puts her shoes. Everything pointed to the constant presence of a second person. Not household footprints, but behavioral ones. In the closet is a man's shirt, blue, expensive. The size is not his. On the shelf is a shaving machine, a package of blades. They are untouched, as if they were specially bought, but not used, as a decoration. He closed the closet, went into the bathroom, and looked in the medicine cabinet. Headache pills, sedatives, female vitamins. There were no contraceptives, but there was a new package of lube hidden behind towels in the bottom drawer. Kirill didn't touch it. He just counted, fixed, confirmed. The next day, he stopped by Yevgeny, a lawyer and friend from university. Yevgeny handled family affairs, helped with inheritance, divorces, and divisions. A man of few words, but precise. The division of property, if there are no scandals, takes from 5 to 7 months, he said, flipping through the documents. If with children, it will take longer, especially if the mother is arguing for custody. What if I have proof? Connections? Yes, photos, videos, correspondence. So far, only indirect ones. A straight line is better. Then the court will be on your side. Kirill was silent. He knew that evidence was needed not to punish, but to disillusion. Marina must see that he is not who she thinks he is. Start collecting, he said without warning. So far in the pretrial order. Understood. I'll tell our employee. Everything is quiet without traces. They agreed that the first step would be to set up surveillance of the apartment that Artyom visits. The second is the analysis of movement on Marina's bank cards. Kirill provided copies of the checks and recent account statements. He left Eugene later than planned. The children were already asleep. Marina was reading in the living room, wrapped in a blanket with a glass of wine. "Where have you been?" "What is it?" she asked, without taking her eyes off the page. "From a friend. We rarely see each other in the evening. Don't you think it's strange to disappear like that?" There was no reproach in the voice, just a statement. She started playing balance. "Don't you think it's weird to put someone else's razor in our bathroom?" Pause. The page in the book remained unrolled. Her eyes did not move. Kirill knew that she was now deciding which strategy to choose: attack, defense, evasion. "What do you mean?" "What is it?" she asked. "Nothing yet. Just a question. Are you making this up? Are you being paranoid?" She spoke softly, carefully, but there was a hint of steel in her voice. "Shall we take a look?" He walked past her and went into the bedroom. Marina remained in her chair. He could hear her setting her glass down on the table. Then footsteps. She didn't follow him, didn't find out. It meant only one thing. She had already chosen which side she was on. He didn't sleep last night. He stared at the ceiling and thought how imperceptibly he could lose control. How slowly someone else appears in the house, without a scandal, without an explosion, just at the level of smells, towels, schedules. He didn't think about feelings, only about actions. He had children, he had resources, he had intelligence, and he had time. This is enough to regain your space and ruin someone else's game. Step by step. It's cold, without emotion, without the right to make mistakes. Kirill woke up at 5 a.m. without an alarm clock. The cold light from the streetlights was still seeping through the curtains. The house was too quiet. He lay there for a few minutes, then got up and went into the nursery. The door was ajar. Dosha was sleeping with her legs tucked under her. Stepan was lying on his back, eyes closed, but his breathing was too steady. Cyril understood. He's not sleeping. He didn't say anything, closed the door, and went downstairs to the kitchen. The coffee was brewed for a long time. He waited, looked out the window. Behind the glass, a fence, rain, gray dawn, emptiness. Marina appeared later in a bathrobe, her hair wet. She smelled like mint shampoo. There used to be another one. She went to the sink and rinsed the mug without looking at him. "Are you at home today?" she asked. "Yes, the whole day." "Whole?" She didn't answer. She poured herself a glass of water, took a sip, put down the mug, and went into the bedroom. Kirill noted that every day she becomes less cautious, or conversely, more confident. This is no longer a mask. This is a different role, one in which she is the mistress of the situation. He called Dmitri around 10 a.m. There is movement. Semenov has been in the same apartment twice in the last 5 days. Once with an unknown woman, the second once. And what about the departures? The car is under guard. The camera caught Marina coming out. Without a hat, his face is visible. I'll send you a screenshot. Send it. The screen came in a minute. Marina was standing at the entrance, looking at her phone, not dressed for running, not for work. Coat, heels, earrings, confident pose, smile. Kirill closed the photo and put the phone away. He didn't feel angry, just a clear feeling. This is happening. Not a guess, not a shadow, not a guess. Fact. Established, confirmed, and certified. In the afternoon, he picked up the children from school himself. Dasha ran out first, wearing a scarf askew. Dad, are you meeting us yourself again? Again? Is it bad? No, it's just unexpected. Usually Mom. Today I am, Kirill smiled. Not for her sake, but for the sake of a sense of stability. Stepan came out slowly, carrying a backpack with a heavy step. He nodded to his father, but didn't say a word. Kirill didn't turn on the music on the way home. He was looking ahead, listening to the children's breathing from behind. Are you all right? He asked. Yes, Dasha said. And Mom's? What is it? He asked softly. Pause. Stepan answered first. She goes out a lot. Where to? He says it's a job, but sometimes he comes in different clothes, not like in the morning. Did you notice that? Yes, and then she hardly talks. She goes straight into the room. Kirill nodded. He didn't know which was worse, that his son could see everything, or that he was used to it. Marina returned late in the evening, opened the door with her key, as if nothing had changed. Kirill was sitting in the living room, reading the report. Are you at home? She said. But you're not. We had a field trip to the facility. Where? At the client's place. I told you so. He looked up. She was standing at the door without taking off her coat. Take off your shoes. There's dirt on the floor. Are you following me? I keep the house in order. She pressed her lips together, took off her shoes, put them against the wall, and went into the kitchen. She froze there, then said loudly, Did you have dinner? Yes, with the kids. And with me? You haven't had dinner with me for a long time. She returned to the living room without a plate, without food, only with a phone. What do you want to prove? She asked. I'm not proving anything. I'm just fixing it. I record behavior, contradictions, and changes. She was silent. There was something sharp in her eyes, almost fear, but it quickly disappeared. You're becoming different, she said. No, I just started noticing. He got up and walked past her. He stopped in the hallway. Children ask questions. Which ones? Why don't you sleep at home? Why are you lying? Why do you smell like someone else's perfume? She didn't answer, just turned away. He went into the bedroom, locked the door, turned on his laptop, copied files, and sent photos, extracts, and screenshots to backup mail. In case the destruction game starts. He wasn't waiting for forgiveness. He wasn't waiting for an explanation. Only the moment when everything becomes irreversible. He knew it was close. 10 days later, Marina suddenly changed tactics. On Sunday morning, she made breakfast, scrambled eggs, toast, and freshly squeezed juice. The kitchen smelled of ginger and butter. Kirill entered and stood in the doorway. She was already sitting, drinking coffee from his favorite mug with a worn inscription. Sit down, she said. Everything is ready. He sat down. The children were still asleep. The house was unusually quiet. Do you want to go outside the city? What is it? She asked. Why? Just a change of scenery. Let's go with the whole family. We used to do that. Kirill ate in silence, listened. The words sounded unnatural, as if they had been copied from previous years. Or do you think I'm lying again? She added softly. I don't think so. I know. How do you know? You're trying too hard. This is the first sign. She put down her mug, got up, went to the window, stood with her back to it. You've become different, cold. I stopped being comfortable. It's not the same thing. She turned around, her face calm, but there was tension in her eyes. "I do not know what you're up to." "Don't," he interrupted. "Just don't. We're both adults and we both understand what's going on." She was silent. He finished his meal, got up, and cleaned up after himself. "What do you say to the children?" "What is it?" she asked. "Nothing. Bye." In the afternoon, he met with Yevgeny. He handed over a flash drive with notes. Cameras installed at the entrance of Semenov's apartment recorded 9 visits by Marina over the past 2 weeks, on different days, at different times. More often in the morning, sometimes with a bag, always without children. "Does it make sense to put a camera inside?" Kirill asked. "Only if you want direct confirmation." "I want to. Then you need a warrant or work through an agency with access. It's money and time. Do as much as you need. Tell me." Yevgeny looked at him carefully. "Are you sure you want to go all the way?" "It's too late not to want to." The next day, Marina left an open bag in the hallway. Kirill walked past and stopped. A white envelope was peeking out of the inside pocket. He took it out. Inside was a receipt from a jewelry store. The pendant is engraved. Date of purchase, 5 days ago. The recipient's name is not specified. He returned the envelope to its place. He turned the lock of the bag in the same way and closed it. In the evening, she said, "I wanted to give you something. It's not worth it." "Why is that?" "Because you didn't buy it for me." She froze, then said sharply, "You're tearing everything up yourself." "I'm just not pretending." Kirill stopped asking Marina where she was going. She stopped reporting. Their conversations were reduced to logistics. Take it away, leave it, doctor tomorrow. The silence between them became thick, heavy, like the pressure before a storm. One day, he heard a conversation through a thin partition between the kitchen and the hallway. She said on the phone, "No, it's too early." He became suspicious. "Yes, I'm careful. If anything, I'll say that you're just a friend." Her voice was muffled and restrained, but Carol knew that she wasn't playing, she was building. He didn't interfere, didn't come out, just made a note. The conversation was at 15:03. Friday, the phone was internal. So it's not a job, it's personal. The point of no return. The next morning, I received a report from Dmitry. Semenov rented an apartment in a private complex. For cash, the contract is executed on a front person. The entrance is via chip card. There is 0 registered residents, but the cameras recorded how Marina spent almost 4 hours there without luggage. She came in empty-handed, came out with the same bag that is now in their hallway. Kirill opened his laptop, downloaded the archive, and saved copies to the cloud. Folder names by date. He wasn't preparing the final move, he was just putting it together. But inside, a structure was already being built. Cold, tough, calculating, not out of revenge, out of necessity, to protect children, themselves, family names, everything that had not yet decomposed under this hypocrisy. He knew it was possible to lie for a long time, but silence was scarier than any lie, and he had been silent long enough. He returned home in the afternoon without warning. At work, he said that he would stay in the city, referring to the review of contracts. Colleagues did not ask unnecessary questions. Kirill was always precise, restrained, without scandals, and his trust did not require explanations. He parked not at the house, but on the next street and walked there. The rain was lashing at his face, but he was walking slowly, carefully. Not because he doubted it, but because he knew that haste could ruin everything now. Someone else's car, gray-green, with tinted windows, was parked at the gate of the house. The region is far away. He's memorized the numbers. He'll check them later. The door was unlocked. He opened it with a key, as quietly as ever. There was no alarm, no sound of footsteps. Only the warmth from inside is heavy, like the breathing of a sleeping body. He took off his shoes and went inside. There is silence in the kitchen. In the living room, the curtains are drawn and the TV is turned off. No sign of children, no voices. He went up the stairs. The stairs creaked underfoot, but not loudly. The bedroom is at the end of the hallway. The door is ajar. He stopped and listened. First the silence, then the voice. Muted, not feminine. Then her voice, the one that used to sound only at night when no one was around, low, soft, stress-free. He pushed the door open. Marina was lying on her back. Her hair is disheveled, and her hand is on the man's neck. He is bent over, leaning on the bed, with his shirt on the floor. Artem Semenov. They both froze. Marina raised her head. The eyes widened. No panic, just a quick mental calculation. What have you seen? How many? How do I get out? Artyom got up, automatically pulled up his trousers, and said, I thought, don't think. Cyril's voice was steady, without strain. Kirill quickly jumped up and punched him in the groin. He didn't know what came over him, but it felt good. Then, as if in a daze, he closed the door slowly until it clicked and went downstairs. He just went outside with a slight smile, got into the car, took out his phone, found a photo of the car, and sent it to Dmitri with a note. In response, a short, "I will do it." The apartment he arrived in smelled of wood and old tobacco. The old rented apartment where he used to stay in the early years before his marriage. Clean, empty, safe. He sat down at his desk and opened his laptop. The Marina folder was already there. He created a new confirmation. I put everything I've received in the last 2 weeks in there. Photos, screenshots, a video from the camera at Semenov's apartment. Then I wrote to Eugene. I found him personally in the house, in the bedroom. RDM, direct confirmation. Here we go. Marina called 3 hours later. He didn't answer. Her calls went off one after the other. Then the message, "You got it all wrong. We can talk. It was a mistake. Don't do anything stupid." He didn't answer, not because he didn't know what to say, but because everything had already been said. Later, I received a message from Dmitri. The car was rented using forged documents. A camera in the courtyard of the house recorded the entrance and exit. "I'm syncing with your time." Kirill turned off his phone. He put it next to her and closed his eyes. He felt no anger, no pain, just emptiness. It was as if everything inside had burned out long ago and only ashes remained. And in these ashes there is a place for a new order, cold, legally precise, without the possibility of excuses. He returned to the house in the morning, as if from a business trip, calmly entered without a suitcase, without making too much noise. She wasn't in the kitchen. In the bedroom, the bed was made, the linen had been changed, and there was a smell of lavender. The washing powder was different. It's always been lemon before. He went down to the living room. There was a cup of leftover coffee, still warm, so it wasn't far away. A minute later, footsteps were heard. Marina came in her pajamas, her hair wet, saw him, froze for half a second. "Are you back?" "Yes." And he left. "You got it all wrong." It was a surprise. She adjusted the collar of her robe, an unconscious gesture to cover up. The signal is weak, but he saw everything. "How are the kids?" he asked. "At school. I took it myself." "Thank you." She paused, then stood up. "I'm going to get dressed. I need to go to the store. The refrigerator is empty." He nodded. He waited until he went up the stairs. When the bedroom door was closed, he went into the hallway and opened the closet. I checked the bag she carried on her last trips. Inside are napkins, keys, a couple of receipts, perfume. There's only one condom on the bottom. The rest are used. The company is the same as in the garbage package. He put everything back in place, in the same sequence, without haste, without flinching. The next day, he fired the housekeeper. Motivation is simply no longer required. The woman tried to object, but he was polite and precise. He gave severance pay without explanation. Marina found out about it a couple of hours later. "Why didn't you check with me?" "What is it?" she asked. "This is my decision. She worked for us for 6 years and won't be here anymore." She paused, a look of irritation on her face, restrained. Kirill realized that she was losing her leverage. Its territory is narrowing. Control is weakening. He disabled her access to the shared card. Quietly, without notification through the bank. I transferred all expenses to my personal account. I issued a debit card for children separately, but with the required amount. After 3 days, she came over. The card is not working. I know what that means. What's separate now? Are you serious? Absolutely. When words lost their power. She wanted to protest, but stopped. He looked at her calmly. She averted her eyes. In the evening, he received a report from Yevgeny. A hidden camera has been installed in Semenov's apartment. No material yet. It takes time. Another movement report. Artyom appeared not only in that apartment. He went to a private clinic outside the city, registered as a consultant. The clinic belonged to a company registered to Semenov's mother. Paperlining is an old method. Kirill saved everything in a separate folder, called it Mechanism. He took a week off from work. He spent 3 days at home, in the morning with the children, in the afternoon with a laptop, and in the evening in silence. Marina didn't argue, didn't find out, just flashed between the rooms like a guest who hadn't packed his suitcase yet. Cyril did not interfere. He waited for her to start making mistakes, for her to relax again. On the 4th day, she left her phone in the living room, sat in a bedroom, flipped through a magazine. Kirill took the phone and checked it. The password has not been changed. The correspondence with Artyom is in the archive. 3 months of dialogues, dates, places, short phrases, sometimes photos, sometimes I miss you or he's here again. Once, I thought he would leave on his own. The answer is, we will help. He took screenshots, sent them to himself, deleted the traces, and returned the phone to its place. Marina didn't notice or pretended to. On Friday night, she came to the office, stood at the door, then went in. What are we going to talk about? About us. We are no more. She sat down, folded her hands in her lap, and was silent. Do you want a divorce? She asked. Maybe. She stood up slowly, not looking. Go to bed, he said. Tomorrow will be a difficult day. She's gone. The door closed softly. No claps, no words, no excuses. Kirill remained in his chair, staring at the screen. There are files, dates, numbers, and behind them a ruined marriage, betrayal, lies. He did not tremble, did not hesitate. He just walked forward, slowly, but without the possibility of returning. The morning began with an invitation. Marina set the table. Coffee, porridge, apples, warm bread. The children sat down without words. Dasha was yawning. Stepan picked at the porridge without touching it. Kirill poured himself a cup of tea. He didn't wait for an explanation anymore. He was watching. I'll pick you up myself today, Marina said, looking at the children. Dad promised, Dasha objected. We have an agreement with him, she said flatly. Kirill looked at her. No, it wasn't. Marina froze for a moment, then continued to eat. After breakfast, she stayed in the house. Kirill was sitting in his office, reading. She looked in without knocking. I need to talk to you. I'm listening, without children. Seriously? He put the book down, closed his laptop, and stared at it. She was standing in the doorway, hands in her pockets. I know that things haven't been right between us in recent months. Are you talking about your lover? I was wrong. I got a lot confused. Confused about who to sleep with. Don't push it. I don't want to ruin everything. He was silent. She waited for a reaction. Not repentance, but confirmation that she still has control. Do you want to save your family? Yes. After all, Cyril, I'm not making excuses. She just took a step forward. I'll fix it. Give me time. You've had 2 years. I didn't think you were. He got up and came closer. Listen carefully. I don't believe words anymore. I'm just checking the facts. Is this a threat? No, it's a notification. She stood motionless. Her face was pale, her lips pursed. You won't even give me a chance. You've already used it several times. He returned to the table and sat down. You can leave or stay, but the ending won't change. In the evening, he received a letter from Eugene. The material is in Semenov's apartment. The video confirms the connection. The dates match your marks. There is audio, visual confirmation, exit, and entry recordings. I'm ready to hand it over. Kirill opened his laptop, connected to the encrypted storage, looked without sound, without emotion. The camera captured them on the couch in the bathroom by the window, without haste. It's too calm, as if everything is allowed. He turned it off. My mouth was dry. Not out of jealousy, out of finality. This is the proof. Point. The next morning, Marina tried to speak again. I thought we could start over. No, I'm ready to explain. Late. She understood, by the tone, by the look, by the absence of a pause. A pause is always a possibility. She wasn't there. In the evening, Carol collected documents, copies of the marriage contract, a certificate of ownership, children's medical records, correspondence, and photos. Everything is organized, numbered in a separate folder. The name is Section. He did not touch Marina's things, did not read her letters, did not look for another confession. Everything has already been said by actions. Too much. Too late. At 3 a.m., she entered the office without knocking in her bathrobe. Her hair is loose. Do you hate me? No. Then be a real man and forgive me. She came closer. I'm done with him. Seriously? I don't care. I can't live without you. She began to cry, but not out loud. No crying. Only the tears are quiet, like a weapon. He didn't move. Go away, Marina. Go to sleep. It's going to be a long day tomorrow. She's gone. The door closed, knocked without softness, without play. He stayed in his chair, staring at the monitor. The screen shows a diagram, contacts, a chain of transactions, and financial connections. It was time to take everything outside. He went to his mother, a small house on the outskirts, the one in which he spent his childhood. Nothing has changed. The same rug on the doorstep, the same kettle on the stove, the same curtains. Faded from the sun, the interior smelled of apples and paper. You don't look well, she said when he entered. I don't sleep much. Problems with Marina, you could say that. They sat down in the living room. She brought the tea without a word. Carol was looking out the window. Wet snow was falling behind the glass. I didn't interfere, she said. I didn't want to get involved, but I knew. How much? A year, maybe more. Why was she silent? You wouldn't have believed it until you saw it. He nodded. She knew what to say. I've always known. I found something, she said after a minute. Father's stuff. There are old emails in the mailbox where the submission documents were. She brought a folder, a worn one with the inscription in pen, personal. There are several sheets inside. His father's handwriting. Dates 2 years before his death. Description. Artyom often appears next to Marina. Questionable transfers from her card. There are attempts to lead her away in conversations with her. He suspected, he knew, but he was afraid to tell you. You were in love, blind. He didn't want to break it. I hoped it would go away on its own. Carol read in silence. He put down the papers and slowly put his hands on his knees. That explains it all, he said. No, it confirms everything. There have been explanations before. You just weren't listening. Later, she showed me old photos. Wedding. Marina is wearing a dress and her father is next to her. He shakes her hand. His gaze is heavy and intense. Carol didn't notice it then. It's clear now. He didn't want you to get married. He wanted me not to lose myself. And you? I thought I was defending, but I was actually losing ground. When Carol returned home, fragments of phrases were spinning in his head. A letter, an extract, a photo, pauses in conversations, the smell of someone else's clothes. Year after year, everything developed clearly, mechanically. He arrived late at night. The children were already asleep. Marina sat in silence. The TV is not on, the book is not open on the table, only a glass of wine, almost full. Where have you been? She asked. At Mom's? Why? Clarified the details. She pursed her lips and took a sip. I feel like you're cooking something. I'm not a cook. Do you want to ruin everything? He passed by. I turned on the light in the office, opened the folder with documents from my mother, spread them out on the table, added screenshots from the camera, audio, and letters to them. All. Communication, finances, correspondence, access to children. All in one system, with dates, with signatures. He sat down, looked at the table, then closed his eyes. He no longer doubted, only waited. An hour later, Marina knocked. Kirill, what? I understand everything. It's too late. I don't want enemies. She stood for a moment, then said softly, if you think it's all about feelings, you're wrong. I know it's because of the control. I wanted to be independent. You wanted power. It's not the same thing. For you. Yes, not for me. She left, never came back that night. Kirill stayed in the office. Before him is a system of evidence devoid of emotion, devoid of context. Just the cold facts. And there's only traffic ahead, without breaks, without pauses. Hidden secrets. He submitted the documents on Monday morning. The waiting room was half empty. The secretary checked the signatures, specified the dates, without asking unnecessary questions. Kirill was holding a folder in his hands, black, thick, with attached copies, certificates, extracts, conclusions. Everything is sorted by points, grounds, evidence, preliminary position on custody. He felt no relief, only clarity. When I went outside, the sun was beating in my face. It's cold, with no light. He put on his glasses and headed for the car. Marina found out an hour later and called. The voice was even, but with emphasis. Did you submit? Yes. Without warning? Everything that happened between us has already happened without warning. Pause. Kirill, this is unwise. Be a man. We can discuss it. The discussion ended the moment you stopped telling the truth. In the evening, she came to the office. Do you really want a trial? Yes. And publicity if necessary. You don't think about children. Real men don't do that. I think that's why I'm doing this. She was pacing the room. In the fingers, the phone is like protection. His face is tense but controlled. We can solve everything without paperwork. It's too late. I will not give up the children. They're not yours anymore. He said it quietly, without emotion, but accurately. She whirled around. What did you say? I mean, essentially, you lost the right to be called a mother when you started using them. She didn't answer. She went out and slammed the door. The footsteps are fast and aggressive, then silence. The next day, the court called him, confirmed the acceptance of the package, and set a date for the preliminary hearing. After 7 days, he confirmed his participation and specified the time. On the same day, I received a report from Yevgeny, financial analysis, hidden accounts, transfers, purchases made in Artyom's name from a card that only Marina had access to. A number of operations coincided with the dates of her business trips. The payment assignment is empty or marked personal services. Kirill forwarded the copies to his lawyer without comment. Everything was clear enough. The children felt everything. Stepan became even quieter. Dasha started asking questions. Dad, did you and Mom have a fight? No. Then why aren't you together? Because adults sometimes make the wrong choices. She thought about it. Did Mom make the wrong choice? We both did, but someone started lying earlier. Dasha nodded silently. On Friday, Marina tried a different move. Under the pretext of going to the doctor, she took the children away. Kirill found out about this through a notification from the school. The children were not registered as absent. Merciless silence. He called her. Where are the children? With me. Where exactly? We're in the park. You're disturbing the order. You have no right to dictate to me. Until a decision is made, I have all the rights. Pause. He could hear the sound of cars. Children's laughter, so not at home. Bring them in within an hour, he said. Otherwise, it's a kidnapping claim. She returned 40 minutes later. The children are confused and withdrawn. Stepan glanced at his father, wary, like an animal waiting to be struck. Marina didn't say anything, just walked past. I left her on the stairs. Are you crazy? No, I've finally sobered up. Later in the evening, he met with Yevgeny again. We discussed the plan for the meeting. The subpoenas have been received. Marina confirmed her participation. Her lawyer is a woman from the bureau who specializes in family disputes. Kirill studied her dossier. Aggressive, but not stupid. It will put pressure on emotions, said Yevgeny. I don't react to emotions. He'll try to make you look cruel. I have documents. Too rational. I'm not playing their theater anymore. They signed the last papers. Kirill took the copies and put them in a folder. He was ready without hesitation, without illusions. Now everything was going to the final, legally in cold blood. He didn't rush, he didn't take revenge, he just completed the points, without the right to a refund. The meeting was scheduled for the morning, 9 a.m. The courthouse is gray, glass, and new. Kirill arrived in advance, unaccompanied, in a black coat with a folder in his hands. The documents are in perfect order. Inside, there is the usual calm, not cold, but control. Yevgeny was waiting in the hallway. His assistant was with him, and she brought him copies sorted by date. Kirill scanned them in silence and approved them for submission. Everything had to be perfect. No leaks, no false statements. Marina arrived 3 minutes before the start, in a light gray suit with a straight back. With her is a lawyer, a woman in her 40s, sharp, with a briefcase and a confident gait. Marina looked at Kirill once. He didn't look back. The judge is a man, 45, neat, restrained. He asked me to sit down and introduce myself. We started by establishing the sides. Discussion of the subject of the proceedings. Yevgeny briefly stated the application for the dissolution of the marriage. The basis is treason, a systematic violation of trust. The evidence is attached. The custody position is shared, with the priority of children living with their father. The financial documents are in the appendix. Marina's lawyer objected. She admitted that there were difficulties in the relationship, but insisted on the right to a second chance, the desire to save the family, and the inadmissibility of bringing the personal into the public. She requested mediation. Kirill was silent. The judge asked Kirill to state his position personally. He stood up and spoke clearly. Since the marriage, my wife has systematically misled me about the nature of her relationships with third parties. There are facts of repeated contacts with the same man, including night visits to his apartment. Over the past 2 years, joint expenses have been made on private trips, purchases, and apartment rentals paid for with a shared card. There are audio, video, and text confirmations of personal correspondence that are incompatible with the concept of marital fidelity. Attempts at constructive dialogue failed. I have decided to terminate the marriage. The judge nodded. Marina leaned slightly towards her lawyer, whispered something, and she got up. We do not dispute the fact of the meeting, but we reject the interpretation as evidence of treason. Given the lack of direct confessions in the materials, we insist on assessing the circumstances, taking into account the emotional state of both sides. Cyril chuckled. Barely noticeable. He knew how it worked. There are no emotions in the audience, but facts. The judge allowed the materials to be attached. Yevgeny handed over the flash drive. Videos, fragments of correspondence, receipts, bank statements. Marina turned pale. One of the files was marked with a time that coincided with her business trip. The camera is at the entrance, where she leaves Artyom's apartment. In another audio folder, where she says, he won't find out anything. He's used to believing, and the main thing is that he doesn't see the message. The room became quieter. The judge looked up. Miss Orlova, do you confirm that this is your speech? It's taken out of context. The context is presented in full. The technical data has been confirmed. Pause. Do you want to add something? The judge asked. It was a mistake, an emotional breakdown. He turned to Cyril. Your position on children. The children stay with me. Living conditions, routines, and studies are unchanged. Do you agree to the participation of the mother in the upbringing? Only by court order. Marina jerked her head up. Are you depriving me of my rights? He looked straight at me. You have deprived yourself of your rights. After the meeting, they went out into the corridor. Kirill approached Yevgeny and thanked him briefly. Marina was leaning against the wall with her shoulder. Without a word, the lawyer disappeared somewhere. "Is that all?" she asked. "No, this is just the beginning. Do you want to take my children away from me? I want to protect them from lies." She stammered. "You always thought I was weak." "No, She looked at his face for the first time in a long time, really. "I was wrong." Kirill was silent. No response was needed. She stayed in the hallway, arms folded, pressed against the cold wall, not crying, not screaming, just realizing it's too late. The marriage is annulled. Custody of the father. The children's place of residence is with him. Marina was granted the right to rare meetings by agreement under supervision. The financial claims were rejected, the assets were divided according to the prenuptial agreement. Kirill left her the apartment where they had not lived since submitting the documents. He didn't take everything from her, only the right to influence. The house has become quieter, without tension, without the background tension that can be felt even in the pauses between phrases. Dasha started laughing again. Stepan asks, "Do we live with you now?" "Yes." "And Mom?" "Mom lives separately." "Forever?" "I don't know. So far, it's the right thing to do." They accepted it without storms. Apparently, the storm had already passed through their minds long before the trial. Kirill realized that the children had long felt the falsity. He just registered it legally. Marina tried to call every day for the first few weeks, then every other day, then letters. In one thing, "I'm ready to start over. Just tell me why." In another, "You were right. I was just scared. I didn't know how to stop." The last message came after 43 days of silence. There was one word, "I'm sorry." Cyril did not answer, not out of revenge, but out of meaning. Some doors, when they close, cease to be doors, become walls. One day she came to the school, stood at the gate in the shade. Kirill saw her when he was going to pick up the children. She didn't come over, just looked. Dasha noticed it first and squeezed his hand. "Dad, Mom's there, I see. Are we going to her place?" "No, we're going home." Marina did not follow, only took a step forward, but immediately stopped. It was as if she realized that this step was no longer for them. It's a step into the void. Kirill changed the locks, installed a new alarm system, and removed the old photos. Not out of spite, but out of order. There should no longer be an unnamed person in the house, only a clear, confirmed, clean one. He no longer lived in the past, did not go over the moments where everything was still intact. He realized that it had been ruined a long time ago. He just didn't notice. The children got used to the new rhythm: school, dinner, evening walks. He didn't pretend that everything was perfect. He showed that it happens in a different way, without deception, without understatement. Dasha asked, "Will Mom come back?" "Probably not." "Why?" "Because not all people know how to stay when it's important." Marina disappeared from the information field, left, no one knew where. The old friends didn't hear anything. The nurse did not answer. Cyril wasn't looking. He knew that if a person wants to disappear, he disappears. If he wants to come back, he tries, and then disappears completely. One evening, he found a letter in his mailbox. Paper, her handwriting. It's short. "You were right. I ruined everything. I thought I was in control, but I was actually losing it. Thank you for protecting the children and yourself. This is the last letter. I won't bother you anymore." Signed, Marina, no last name, no date. He looked out the window, then carefully put the letter in the box, without malice, without regret, just as a fact. The past should not control the present. It can explain, but not justify. That evening, Stepan fell asleep with his hand on his shoulder. Dasha was reading aloud. Kirill wasn't listening to a book, but intonation. There was no more anxiety in her. He realized that the children came out of it in one piece, which means that everything was not in vain. Some decisions come not with emotion, but with silence. And only in this silence it becomes clear who you are and who is really there, and the rest is cut off by itself forever.